You're listening to Tech Me Seriously with Sarah Tenisi, CEO of TenisiTech. Candid conversations with driven technology and business professionals who've always got something interesting to say.
Hi, I'm Sarah Tenisi, the host of Tech Me Seriously and CEO of TenisiTech, an IT services firm headquartered in California. Today, I'm really excited to be talking to Shehara Wooten. Shehara is on a mission to help close the racial wealth gap. She helps ambitious Black women working in STEM go from feeling burnt out, financially stuck, directionless, and overwhelmed by their careers to confidently creating multiple streams of income and taking control of their financial future. Shehara has degrees in electrical and computer engineering and is the founder of Your Story Financial Academy, where she helps clients find success one chapter at a time. Today, we'll be discussing how women in particular can design a life full of freedom, sabbaticals, and peace of mind, which I think a lot of people struggle with. So I'm really excited about this. Shehara, welcome.
Thank you so much, Sarah. I'm excited to talk about this.
Me
Yes.
too. And I
Yeah.
mean, I think this is such I think it's timely, but I also think that this is something that almost everybody can relate to. And I mentioned to you in another conversation that I feel like people get into this like career cycle / rat race and they just work
Yeah,
and they become workaholics.
absolutely. And it's so easy to do because we're told to work hard and
Yeah.
how if you work hard, you're going to get rewarded, you know? And many times we look at people and you look down the line and you see the reward was bad health and stress and all these things that we did not account for, especially when we were younger and we thought that our hard work was going to get us exactly where we wanted to go.
I think I mean, that's kind of what it is. And I think some of it
Yeah,
is like American culture, like
absolutely.
because we are raised in this capitalistic society, it's
Yeah.
like we're raised to not really know when is enough. And
Yes,
we're raised with like a scarcity mindset.
absolutely.
So, I mean, do you see that in your practice?
I do. And just, with the women that I've been working with, I've noticed that, their head is down, they're working hard, and they're like, hey, when I was in school, I was all about school. I was about getting good grades, doing the work. And then when I got out of work, that's what I did too. And I've fallen into that and I have
I'm
to check
sure.
from time to time, like sometimes it's excitement about learning something new and then just going off with that particular thing and not really thinking about how
True.
important it is, but just our health is what I'm really coming to is our health truly is our wealth. And if you
100%.
build all this wealth, and you focus on the net worth statement, you do all these things to build your assets, but you get to the place where you feel you want to be and you have no health or you can't really do the things you want to do,
Yes.
then what was the point? And so that's where I've been, just kind of coming back to that and helping people to really think about what is the true purpose of my money? What's the purpose of why I'm doing what I'm doing? And then how to incorporate breaks throughout. And
Exactly. Yeah.
yes. And knowing that that's okay.
I think that's a big part of it. And
Yeah.
like we're going to talk about this because I think some of this is just a mind shift,
Yes.
a mindset shift, and like
Mhm.
that part has been really hard. It's funny because my husband and I lived in the Bay Area for a long time and we work in tech. So we were
Yeah.
kind of in the perfect place except that it is just grind all the time. And we
Yeah.
would see like you're talking about this whole health component, we would see people finally retire and no joke die in the next 2 years.
Oh my gosh. Yeah. Yeah.
Right? And we thought,
Absolutely.
that can't be it. That we cannot work this
That can be
hard.
it. Yes.
That cannot be it, right? So that
Right.
kind of came to mind as you were saying that. And the other thing that came to mind was I was working for a company before I started TenisiTech, and I don't know if you read Tim Ferriss's 4-Hour Work Week.
I
I feel
haven't
like
read it yet, but it's definitely on my list.
it's on the list, right? And it's so
Yeah.
interesting because he basically talks about this is like, hey, what do you really need money for? And what are the things that you want to do before retirement? Because figure out what it costs and work it
Yeah.
in now. Let's not all wait until
Absolutely.
we're in
Let's
our
not wait.
60s.
Yeah, and I challenge people. I challenge them. I'm like, okay, what is retirement to you? because retirement does not mean 67 or when I'm eligible for Social
Yep.
Security. And that's what a lot of people feel. It's like, oh, it's 65, right? And I'm like, no, when is it for you? When
Yeah.
do you want to make work optional? So I'm big on obviously using the tools, understanding, your liquidity, understanding how much you have in the retirement types of accounts, but really getting back to your why. And one of the things that I challenge people to do is create a statement of financial purpose and let that be like your true north. So looking at your values and saying, okay, these are the things that I, enjoy. I enjoy security. I enjoy travel. I enjoy being with family. And the money is the tool. It's the thing that helps you.
Yes.
It's the thing that can fund that vision, that dream. But if you're just socking it away and waiting to enjoy it until you're 70 or 80, it's like, why do that to ourselves? That's like punishment, to have to wait. I think it's a
Yeah.
beautiful thing to get to 70 and 80, but it's
Of
punishment to
course.
put yourself through. I'm 40 years old, but I can't do anything until that point, So
And I even think
Mhm.
exactly. And I even think for a big part of, or a lot of us, I feel like it's not even like we're thinking about this statement of financial purpose. I don't think a lot of us are thinking of money as the tool. I think that a lot of people think of it as the end.
Yeah,
And
I
who
agree.
cares? You can't take it with you.
Absolutely. You cannot take it with you. And it's like, how do we get into that abundance mindset? And I'm constantly having conversations with women about this. One
Exactly.
lady I spoke with yesterday, she's about to move to the Bay Area. And she was telling me that even though these are challenging times, right, economically, she had
Hmm.
position herself mentally to say, okay, I can have something different. I don't have to have all the challenges that come with these times. Let me think about like other things. And so she was laid off in August, but she has already gotten a job and is
Fantastic.
able to move to San Fran, and it's almost like double her income. And
Amazing.
it was a weight lifted off of me because I do feel the burden at the times, but I'm also feeling like, okay, there is hope. And we also have to believe that there's hope for our own personal selves. And then
Yes.
our activities can follow that, follow suit with that. And that's what really resonated with me just in that conversation, that
Yeah.
hope is there if we want to grab a hold of it.
Well, and part of like when I was kind of looking at what I wanted to talk about here, I came across
Mhm.
like you're really focusing on mid-career STEM professionals,
Yes.
right?
Yes.
Especially Black women gain
Yeah.
financial confidence and freedom. And why is that mission so timely? I mean, you mentioned like things are crazy today. So,
Yeah. Yes.
so how does that sort of line up and does it make it harder?
Yes. So for me, let's go to the why. The why is
Yeah.
one, you've mentioned it already. I am on a mission to close and do my part to close the racial wealth gap.
Yes.
That's a big deal for me.
Yeah.
Uh, and then also, I came out of STEM, so electrical and computer engineer. And I just remember if I go back to when I was in my 20s and just starting out in my job, and I wanted to have some financial empowerment. I wanted to know what that was about. And I did reach out to a financial advisor. I was living in Philly and we met, but a few months later, I realized I didn't get the help that I thought I was getting. So
Hmm.
I ended up learning and trying to grab a hold of every piece of information I could. And from there, it caused me to have such an interest in becoming actually a financial advisor, a financial planner. And that's really what drew me to change careers. And then from that point, worked in various roles. But that point, I started to hone it down into it was like, I would say 2021. So back, that was 2020, 2004 was when I changed the career.
Yeah.
2021 was when I actually realized I want to do more to help 25-year-old Shehara. That's
Yes.
I want to do. And what I realized too is that when I say 25-year-old Shehara, yes, that's the person I'm thinking about. And I looked at and I said, okay, what are all her characteristics and all this?
So
And
smart.
yeah, and what I realized though is The 25-year-olds may not have as much of a sense of urgency. So that was through many, many interviews and many, many times of trying to help them. And I do still help 25-year-olds. But I find that the people that actually gravitate and actually want to do something, they're in their 30s, they're in their 40s. They're like, oh my
Yes.
gosh, I'm not 25 anymore and I got to do something. 60 is going to be here before I know it, and I haven't done enough. And that's what caused me to really start zoning in on that mid-career
That
professional.
makes sense. Well, and the other thing too about like being in your 20s, I have, so my kids are 21 and 27.
Yes.
And I always feel like your 20s are probably, at least for me, in my experience, the hardest decade, right?
Oh,
Like maybe you've had some, I mean, it's fun, don't get me wrong,
yeah,
but
yeah,
maybe you've had some like, you're starting your career, you're trying to figure out what you're going to do in your life. Like
yeah.
it just, that feels like for me the hardest time. But like you're saying, like you get into your 30s, now you've got this career, now you've spent
Right.
10 years in a career, maybe,
Right.
unless you've switched, which I think is totally something that I want to talk about a little bit too. And we're going to get to this when we talk about your journey, because there's something
Yeah.
really inspirational, I think, about the ability to switch. But anyways,
Oh, yeah.
so it's like I feel like you're right. Like this mid-career person is the
Mhm.
one that maybe has a little more money. That was
Yeah.
another thing, right? Like
Mhm.
I always felt like financial planning was tricky when there just wasn't that much. So,
Mm,
anyways, like you get mid career and you're like, okay, you're looking forward. You have
yeah.
the career. You maybe have the ability to save a little bit now.
Right. Right.
So that
Yeah.
makes sense to me too.
Yeah, absolutely. And I believe today is the best day. So whatever age you are, today
Hmm.
is the best day. I have
Yeah.
helped folks come in, and I light up when I hear like a 23-year-old come to me. And I
Yes.
have one that I worked with since she was about that age. She's in her mid 30s now, married,
See,
just had
amazing.
a baby, but she did start saving right out of college. And it's just amazing
Amazing.
watching what she's been able to do. So if I can catch them, I'm like, yes.
Yeah.
But it does take a little bit of foresight on that person's mind. But that mid-career, like you said, they've been hopefully saving. Sometimes they may not have, but they're like, wait a second, that 60, that's 50, that's before I know it. And I wanted to retire yesterday. So what do I need to do?
For real. Yeah.
So that's where that age bracket is just it's golden. It's a great time to really start getting serious. It really is.
Well, and the other kind of thought I had is like focusing on STEM women. Okay,
Yeah.
STEM women, either Black women or women of color, right? Like, is that how big of a group is that even?
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah. So it's really interesting. So I focus, honestly, I work with all STEM professionals,
Everybody.
right?
Okay.
But my program that I'm specifically speaking about mostly here, and it does branch out to other people's challenges,
Sure.
but the program, the Wealth Gap Closers Method, it does focus on specifically mid-career Black women in STEM. Black women in STEM make up like less than 2% of all STEM professionals. So not a lot. I don't know the
Right.
exact number, but 2%. So I can't translate that yet for what that
I
amount.
mean, women in tech is so small. Yeah.
Right.
Sorry.
It's already
Yeah.
small, right?
Yeah. Yeah.
So, and just, I'm looking at being a financial planner. I'm trying to relate it to that because that's where I'm at right now. There's 100,000 certified financial planners at least. And
Hmm.
Black financial planners make up 1.9%. So about 2,000 Black financial planners. And someone just told me out of that 2,000, it's like 500 Black women financial planners.
Right.
Whoa, that's basically like a handful. So
It's so small. That's why I'm
yes,
wondering, right?
yeah. So I think there's a lot more Black women in STEM, but than that in terms of what
Yes.
2% equals. But
Yeah.
it's a challenging role for women in general. And then when you start to really dig down into the specific demographics, it gets even smaller.
Well,
Yeah.
and it's one of those things where I was just watching oh God, I forget the name of it. It's a new Apple show with Jason Momoa. It's about the beginning of Hawaii. And
Oh,
my husband's Polynesian, right?
oh,
And
cool.
he's like tickled to see a bunch of Polynesian people on
Yeah.
TV. And anytime you get to witness somebody getting like excited about that representation, I'm
Oh,
always
yeah.
like, this is why representation
That's why it
matters.
matters.
And this is why, like, having this focus and being able to talk about it, like, even
Yes.
if it narrows down the scope, is so important because
Yes.
I can imagine women of color wanting to come to somebody who has been in their shoes, who has been an engineer, who understands like the particular challenges. And so I think that that's really kind of an important aspect to what you're doing.
Yeah, I think yes, that relatability, knowing that, and many have told me, they're like, I just think it's awesome to be able to talk to someone who understands what I'm, going through.
Yes.
If we're talking about your, cash flow planning and you're a hair product junkie, I get it. I understand.
100%.
Because you're dealing with, doing your twist out. I've got my hair in sister locks. Like they totally get it. If I get it. And then I'm like, okay, now you
Yeah.
gotta hone in on that and control that. But there's just certain things that you can just that inherently is relatable. But what I think is really cool too, just about being a business owner in general, is that I am still able to relate to others as well,
Of
and
course.
find that people find themselves in my messaging. So
Yeah.
I
A
remember,
100%.
years ago, actually a engineer, white male, came to me and he said, "Well, I'm coming to you because I just want a different perspective, like I want a different perspective on my finances. I met so many people, financial planners just like me, and I want somebody different." So I think I thought that was a really interesting feedback. But the majority of people do come to folks because there's that they can relate to, because at least that barrier is gone,
Yep.
at
Well,
least
and I
that.
totally relate to what this guy's saying too. And like, I'm going to try not to offend anyone, but like, here's the thing about financial planners that I find tricky is
Mhm.
I don't have clarity on what makes each person different
Mm,
and what are they actually doing. And it's
yeah,
just because I'm ignorant of what everything is in that, right? I do
sure,
IT, right? And so I
sure.
think there is that too. So knowing that, like, I've been to a bunch of different financial planners, and I'm
Yes,
kind of like, are you just using the algorithms for the brokerage that you work for? And like, are you actually doing anything for me?
got you.
Do you
No,
know
I
what I
hear you.
mean? So there
Yeah,
is that, like, this idea that, wait, now I got to go to somebody that might have a different perspective is very
yeah.
interesting because even having a different perspective could be a differentiator, I think, in your space.
Exactly. I agree. And I think also there's so many different types of financial advisors out there. So
Yes.
it can
Yes.
be very confusing, right?
Right.
So, part of my journey is I started when I did change careers, I started at the traditional broker dealer
Sure.
world. And, you can find any one of those on any corner or whatever. So that's how I started. And then realized, wow, this is taking me away from the reason why I changed careers. Like changing out of engineering is not it's not a small undertaking, right? So
No.
when I started to see that I was kind of veering away from my actual motives and motivation for changing, that's when I was just like, okay, I need to figure out a way to do this and figure out a way to start my own thing, my own career, maybe my own business. And that's
Yes.
started to see, okay, that there are differences with different financial advisors. And a lot of the consumers don't understand that. I didn't fully understand that when I got
Right.
in.
Right.
So as I was in it, I was like, oh, okay, this is like a commission type person. So they might be just focused on selling a product, may not be focused on me. I mean, there's still good people even doing that side. But then you
Of
got your
course.
fee only side, which is the side that really resonated with me that I didn't know about when I first started. And so,
What does fee only mean in your world? I
yeah,
wasn't sure about that
absolutely.
either.
Good question. So, fee only is and that's the side I came to. We don't take commissions. So, many of these banks and big brokerage firms and all that, you're going to probably have them. They're probably going to sell a mutual fund or
Yep.
some type of insurance product, or it's kind of product based. So, they might sell you a stock or a bond. So, a fee only advisor does not take it commissions at all.
Interesting.
And we charge a fee for the planning. So if somebody is, and the fees can come in different ways. The fee could be like an advice only fee. I'm not advice only, but there are advice only advisors. So kind of like
Hmm.
you pay for the advice and it
Hmm.
comes out of cash flow. That's what it
Yep.
is. You know how you have a CPA, you have a attorney, you pay for
Yep.
that advice that comes out of your cash flow. You could also have an AUM, assets under management advisor, and you pay a percentage of whatever the assets are that they're managing. That's also considered fee only. And,
Okay.
or you can do a combination of the two.
Got
So
you.
I do a combination of the two. And so it is considered fee only. What it allows me to do is to provide unbiased financial advice. So, and it causes me to be a fiduciary. So rather than looking
Got
at
it.
the person and saying, okay, you've got 20,000 in cash. Okay, let's put that in a stock, or let's put that in a mutual fund, or let's give you a mutual fund. Like I'm leading with the mutual fund rather than talking about, okay, what are your goals? What's your,
Yes.
how do you see yourself using the funds? And starting with that first, but knowing that I don't get paid off of selling you a mutual fund,
Yes.
allows me, both of us, the client and I, to really collaborate and really figure out, okay, what is it that they actually want and need with their life. So with Your Story Financial Academy, I have the Wealth Gap Closers method, and I'm able to provide a group setting, more community focus. And so that is more of like a group coaching setting.
I
So
love that.
there's all types of ways to be able to do these various things, but I would not have necessarily have been able to do that with with one of those banks or brokerage firms and all that. So everybody, like if they're a certified financial planner for one, and then they work as a investment advisor or a financial coach, there's so many different ways that they could do it. And so I have a financial planning firm, which I don't talk about too much, but I've
Sure.
chosen to also do my financial coaching. And that allows people to, they pay a fee and then we give them the coaching and the community and also the support.
I love the community aspect of that. One of my it's not a pet project. It's about to be, I hope, but is to where should we be building community right now? Like just
Yeah.
generally, right? Because
Yeah.
there's such a lack of it. And I know that I feel like, again, thinking about these 20-year-olds, I feel like that's something that they're grappling with that maybe we didn't have to because we weren't raised on social media. So I
Yeah.
wanted to ask you, right? I mean, so when you talk about community and having a group where people come in and can learn from each other and talk to each other about something that they all care about, right?
Yeah.
That's already a given. That's why they're showing up. So I
Yeah.
wanted to ask you, when you look at the intersection of technology, business leadership, and personal financial strategy, is there something that you think is potentially overlooked that the tech sector tends to miss? You were saying that you went to financial planner as a young engineer, right,
Yeah.
in your 20s, and you were like, well, that's not exactly what I was looking for, right? Is there something about being in tech that makes it different or not really? It was just like an area that you wanted to focus on.
Yeah, in terms of like my clients, like how the niche that I
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
okay. So for me, I chose the niche because I basically was looking at 25.
You.
Yeah, I was
Yeah.
looking at me and what I did. And then I was just thinking about, okay, there's a good amount of income that people are getting. How are they using it? How are they leveraging it to live the life they've imagined? So I wouldn't say necessarily like there was a particular area of tech or the reason why, I chose STEM other than really it connected to me. And
Yeah.
that's what I did. I knew
Which is the
it was
best.
a different barrier. Yeah, like that friction for me just felt easier because I already could relate. And
Yeah.
so that was really the nuts and bolts of it, nothing too fancy about it. Yeah.
Which makes sense. I mean, that's why it
Yeah.
works, I feel like, because
Yeah.
it was like this thing that you could connect to that you
Yeah.
knew other people could connect to. So we've mentioned kind of this transition from being an engineer to being a financial planner and to kind of developing this business.
Yeah.
I love that you made this switch
Yeah.
because I know I flunked out of an engineering program. So just like, and
Hey,
I talk about this, right? Well,
yeah,
and I talk about this because it was really hard. It didn't really align with who I am in terms of like, I like talking to people, right? And I like to
right.
be kind of out there in front. Like, I think when people talk to us about how we do IT, they
Yeah,
notice immediately that we're like personable
right.
and we actually want to talk to you, which is not kind of what people think of when they think of IT, right?
That makes
And
sense.
so I flunk out of it and sort of am
Yeah.
able to parlay that into like an IT career, which
Mhm.
was totally related. But here's somebody like, and I mean you, right? You get an electrical engineering degree, you get a
Amazing.
computer engineering degree, which is
Or just
really hard.
one
Well,
degree. One
okay,
degree.
it's one with an emphasis. Well, it's an emphasis on computer engineering, right? Which is
Yeah.
again what I flunked out of. And I like, and I always like think, oh my God, I know how hard, at least for me in my brain,
Yeah.
an engineering degree is. I know at
Yeah.
the time I was one of very few women in the degree.
Oh
And
yeah.
part of me is like, oh my God, you made it. And then you get there and you're like, meh, not really. So I mean, tell me about that. Cause I'm
Yeah.
so interested in A, being able to switch, but
Yeah.
also I keep trying to tell people that what you do today doesn't mean you're going to do it forever and you
Right.
have the ability to switch. So again, a like mindset
Absolutely.
shift. So I'm
Yeah.
curious about that shift that occurred in you.
Yeah, yeah. So I'll start off with just something that I've just embraced, and that was
Yeah.
not let anybody typecast you.
Yeah.
And so for me, I'm just like, nobody's going to put me in a box, right? Like,
Yeah.
what I'm
Yeah.
doing today, it may not be what I'm doing years from now. So when I was doing engineering, I honestly knew that that was not going to be it. I didn't know
You
what.
did.
Yes, I remember going through the degree, and there were times, and my mom reminds me, and I don't remember those times, but she said, "Yeah, we were like, keep at it, Shehara." And for whatever reason, I don't fully remember that, but I do remember it being some hard times. I don't know how serious I was about quitting, but in my mind, but maybe to her, she was like, well, "Okay, we got to help her hold on," you know. And so that support was helpful in terms of making me finish. But also, I just felt like I'm this far, I got to finish. Now, go ahead. Yeah.
Well, I mean, here's the thing that I know people understand how hard engineering is, right?
Yeah.
But I think that I'm always like in awe is the right
Mhm.
word for
Yeah.
somebody who pushes through an engineering degree, right? Because I'm like, do psych or sociology or some politics, something else. Like if you're just trying to push through, and here you are, like I'm just pushing through an engineering degree, which I'm kind of like I almost get chills thinking of it because I was grappling, I was
Yeah.
doing
Yeah.
it, but you were like, ah, this isn't really it, but I'm gonna
Burnout.
do it.
Push through. Yeah. And it was, but I think also would help to, again, back to community. I had a good amount of support.
Yeah,
Where I was at the Ohio State University, and I
yeah,
was a part of a program they had at the time called the Minority Engineering Program, and I was a part of NSBE, National Society of Black
yep.
Engineers. So I had an office to go to. I had a group of people to go to. Also, when
Yeah.
I was feeling challenged. But yeah, I look back on it and I'm like, whoa, you just pushed through something like a engineering and computer
It's
engineering, staying up all night trying to do
these were
programs
insane.
that
Yes.
you did not enjoy. But that was part of it too. That was part of the
Yeah.
lesson too, is to be like, okay, how much longer can I just push through stuff I don't enjoy? Right. So then
Yep.
there's that aspect of things. And then also looking at internships, and I was looking at the coworkers, and I was just like, I don't see myself doing this, right? I don't see
Hmm.
myself being their age still doing this. So I had
Yeah.
to really think that all through. And
Yeah.
like you, I was really thankful. God just really placed me with when I started an engineering internship program. It was like an
Hmm.
engineering scholarship internship program, and the mentor that I got paired with, he was in sales. So that was
Interesting.
too, because I got to observe what typical engineers do, and then I also got to see what a sales engineer did. And while I was doing my internship, I'd be on the plant floor talking to the folks and chit chatting and just having more of that social time.
Yes. Yeah.
And then I would go to my sales office, which wasn't that great. It was like a boys' locker room, and I was the only lady, and then we had secretary, and I know she felt bad for me. Like I felt like I was thrown to the wolves. But even in all of that, those were all lessons, and that was all
Yes.
data that I was collecting to determine, is this where I see my life, like where I want to go. And then obviously the turning point of, meeting that financial advisor that didn't give me the support, or, didn't know how to support me. I don't know what was going on there, to be honest with you. But all of these little factors helped me to decide, okay, what is it that I really want to do when I grow up? And that's when I changed careers. And then eventually I had to ask myself, is this aligned? Even though I've changed careers, is this particular company and the mission and how they do things, is that aligned with what I do? And that's when I changed back, 12 years. Well, how was that? 2024, 2016. Yeah. I mean, 2004, 2016. Those were all pivotal years in terms of my changes and pivoting, and it's all data. It's no wasted time,
That's true. That's
Yeah.
true.
And it just helps me to have more conviction, more compassion, and understanding like how my situation, like how others can feel that way too. And to take that chance on yourself, really.
Well, and that's kind of what's coming to mind for me is like having the self-awareness that you had, which I think is, again, I don't know if this is just a woman thing,
Mhm.
but having the self-awareness and being confident enough in yourself, which
Yeah.
again, like those are not always easy traits to develop within
Yeah.
yourself.
Yeah. Yeah.
So
Yeah.
to like know that, and again get back to the why, and to be able to do that in the middle of a career. And that's kind of what, again, and when I'm talking to younger people, it's like, hey, don't stress this too much. Like think about something you're interested in looking at and trying, and go do that for 6 months or
Try
a
it out.
couple years or whatever. And I think what you said, and I really want to highlight, is this idea that none of it was wasted time.
Exactly.
Right?
Exactly.
Whether you're succeeding or failing, you're learning.
You are
And
learning.
so you're gaining confidence through
Yeah.
that. And so I think part of it is, hey, don't stress. Like, don't get in your head
Mhm.
about what you think you should be doing in terms of planning out your whole life. Just get going.
Just get going, but take that
Get
next step. And
going.
it seems like that next step comes after that. Like, and if it doesn't, you just give yourself some time and be patient with yourself and just keep learning. That's one thing that I am, as a lifelong learner. And then I'm also
Same.
a lifelong teacher. So I just love teaching. So if I learn something new, then that's what I'm going to start to share with people too. So that's the other aspect of things is, and I believe, and I can't remember, or I don't have the data behind this, but we change throughout our lives. We're not always
Totally.
the same person, and I've heard that it's like every 10 years, it's almost like shedding skin. Like
Yeah.
we determine, like, I feel like God doesn't give us everything at once. So that's why what makes life really interesting is because you shed that layer of the onion off, and then you're like, wait a second, I didn't realize, I see it from a different angle now. And now I see more of what and I say, God, more of what you want me to do and
Yeah.
to do it with. So for me, I've learned that my main foundation is teaching. So if I'm in a place where I can teach, that's what I'm doing. And if I can, that's part of my purpose. That's one of my values. And, I taught line dancing. I've
I
taught,
love it.
yeah, like, when I go back to teaching, that's what, explaining something, learning something, and then explaining it. So just even with that, like, our lives and the world is changing constantly. I've been getting into generative AI and learning that, and learning agentic workflows and how to really help myself be more efficient. But that's all learning. That's all behind the scenes.
Yeah.
Really adjusting to whatever times you're in, and yeah, and knowing what's going on in the world and how you need to adapt accordingly.
Well, I love that. And it's also like, it's funny because as you say, at heart, you're kind of a teacher. I think about, and this whole like every 10-year cycle.
Yes.
I think if you can give yourself the space to step back and think about these things, then
Yeah.
they start to surface, right? So, like for you, it's like, hey, at the heart of what I do is teaching. I think about it, what I love doing is building. And I
Yeah.
mean like processes, like so
Yeah.
building out an IT infrastructure, building a company,
Mhm.
building
Yeah.
someone's career. Do you know what I mean? I
Yeah.
look at it like I like being a builder. So
Yeah.
this is a perfect segue because I want to talk about some actionable advice on the topic so that people can walk away with some next steps. So the first kind of thought I had on this is for tech leaders who are individually doing well but feel stuck
Mhm.
financially
Mhm.
despite good income,
Mhm.
what are some of the first three things that you start to have them look at? So, what are some of the first like three steps you advise to get kind of from good to confident and in control?
Yes, yes. So it wouldn't necessarily be just looking at your money. I
Yeah,
believe it's looking at, so my company is called Your Story Financial Academy. And so I believe that each chapter represents a phase of our lives. And
love
so
it.
I like for people to initially, and now I've shortened it a little bit, but I like people to say, okay, when I'm 90 years old, where am I? And or 80, whatever, however far out you can think, and then write down everything that's happening, what was important, what happened over your life. And then from there, you can start to extract out what really is important, what really resonates to you. And then from there, if you can't go out, that far out, go out 5 years. So I'm a
Hmm.
big on it, writing, like kind of writing your story as if you're looking backwards and all
Hmm.
that you've done. And then from there, you can start to say, okay, now what is it that I need to do today to make that picture, make that story look like that or as close as possible? What are the things, the activities? Who are the people that I'm with? What am I doing? Who am I seeing? All those things. What tools am I using to make all that happen? And that to me is like where you have to go. Like the imagination is an amazing thing. It's a gift that we all have. And when you look at little kids, they are so good about imagining. But at some point we forget to imagine, and because we're so in
The
the
grind.
hustle, the grind, right?
Yeah.
No
Yes.
sleep and all these different things, but really doing that, sitting down and really letting yourself imagine and putting no boundaries to it, to what that life looks like, and looking backwards how you would have wanted it to look like, and then start working forwards to get it to look like that.
That's such a good. It's like I think about this and I think, why doesn't it sound so easy and feel so hard?
Right, right. Because we don't prioritize ourselves, I feel like.
That's right. I think you're
Like
right.
this is something, after you do that, you
Yeah.
have to take and schedule a time to sit down with yourself and cut out all the noise, because we don't do that.
Right.
And you got to recalibrate, like I find myself like getting in the hustle and bustle. Like we all get into it again. And then we got
Yeah.
to go back and step back and say, okay, you're not supposed to do that, right? So I think that's it. We're not prioritizing it. So you do, like, right now, put it on the calendar. And if you can just schedule out 30 minutes. If you can't schedule out 30 minutes, try 10 minutes. And then over time, you'll add more time if you need to. You might find out that you start at 10 and you're like, wait a second, I need more time. But put the timer on and just
Right.
try it. So prioritize it by scheduling it. And then one of the things I'm really focused on now is, and I've always been a good sleeper, but as I've been getting older, I have not been sleeping like I want, because my mind is going and I'm like, oh, I'm going to try that on.
Yes.
And we didn't have all these devices before. So
Right.
I've had to really work on, and I can only imagine what the younger generation's dealing with, but
Yep.
I've had to work on my own sleep hygiene. So I think getting enough sleep is really going to be important, and it helps you to dream. Like literally, when I'm sleeping longer, I have dreams, I'm relaxed. That is where your creativity really starts to flow. And then when you wake up, you can start to write down exactly like the first thing that you think about.
Yes.
There could be some inventions in there, but if you don't get the sleep, you're not going to be thinking like that. You're going to be thinking, oh my gosh, I didn't get enough sleep. Now let me hurry up, run and do this, run and do that.
Right.
We're back in that cycle again. And I say that because I've dealt with that, and so I'm like, okay, what do I need to do? And I've just been like, okay, catching myself, prioritizing that aspect of life.
I have to say, what I love about talking to you about this stuff is that you know that you're not the only one.
Yeah.
Right? You're like, hey, if this is happening to me, it's happening to a lot of people.
Yeah.
And I think this is like I don't know if it's a younger generation thing. I don't know in which decade I realized this, but we
Yeah.
all kind of have similar problems in our lives. Like
Yeah.
it's just the degree. We have varying degrees of challenge,
Right.
obviously. But
Yes.
like this again, it's like self-awareness that you're able to sort of take out of yourself and apply to others. I feel like that's a
Mhm.
gift that you have. I don't
Right.
know that everybody has this gift.
Okay. Wow. Thank you. I
I mean,
appreciate that.
seriously, like just this
Yeah.
idea where you're like, hey, if I don't sleep, and it's funny because I do think like, there's atomic habits. There's all these books written about how you even get there. And they
Yeah.
do talk about sleep and they talk about exercise and they talk about, once
Yes.
again, making a little time for yourself to give
Yes.
to it. And how about giving yourself a little grace to
Yeah.
go through this? Like when you talk about, hey, give yourself 10 minutes. I feel
Yeah.
like that first 10 minutes is probably like, I don't know where to start. Like for
Yes.
me, it goes something like, I know that my legacy isn't going to be about how much money I made,
Yeah.
right? I
Right.
want it to
Right.
be about how I helped people,
Yes.
probably. But
Yes.
even getting to that takes some time. So I just,
I agree. Yeah. Yeah. I agree. So I will say, I remember taking a leadership class through Dale Carnegie Leadership.
oh, interesting. I know people that
Yeah.
have Dale Carnegie
Yeah.
franchises. Uh huh.
Yes, yes. I was in my 20s, and that was also when I decided to change careers. And we met every week. I asked my employer at the time. I said, "Hey, can you guys pay for this? I want to take this program." And when I was in there, we had to every week give like a two-minute speech. And one of the things I did, and they told us to look at your life as I am, like I am here, I am doing all these things. And I remember it was like March of, I don't know, I can't remember, 2004. Yeah, it was March 2004. And I said, by September or whatever, 6 months, whatever date this is, I'm going to be here. I'm going to be at a different career. I'm going to be doing all these different things. And this is what I'm going to be doing, blah, blah, blah. So I told him all the things. And everything that I said did happen in that year. It didn't happen necessarily in 6 months. But that particular program definitely was a powerful seed. For me in my 20s, I was doing a lot of soul searching, figuring things out.
That's what
So
I mean. That's what your 20s
yeah,
are for, right?
yeah. And that all those seeds really helped. And honestly, they did say you should be a teacher. You should teach, be one of the coaches, the Dale Carnegie coach. But instead, I changed careers to be in the financial services, but I knew I needed to change. I knew something had to change. And I was thankful for the company for footing the bill on that.
And I think the other lesson in that is ask for what you need.
Yes.
How
Yes.
many of us don't ever even think to ask your employer, hey, this is gonna help. I mean, maybe
Right.
I end up leaving you. I mean,
Right.
but I
I didn't
actually
know
think,
that's what I was gonna do.
of
Yeah.
course you didn't. And I actually think that, I don't know, sometimes I get a little Pollyanna because I'm an optimistic person, but as an employer, I
Mhm.
actually feel like I want to help people figure out what it is they want to do. Do you
Yeah.
know what I mean? So then
Yeah.
it's like, I was going to actually ask this question. So I'm going to ask it now, but it was for a company leader who wants to support their staff in
Yes.
building financial wellness. What program or initiative would you recommend implementing?
Yeah, absolutely.
I don't want to lead you or like answer the question for you, but
Right,
part of
sure.
me thinks maybe providing a leadership program for somebody is a way to get them on the right path.
Yeah, I think that's great. Because I am bent towards finances, I do
Yeah.
think if your employees don't know how to manage their finances,
Yeah.
they're going to be coming to work completely stressed out, like, and you don't even know why.
That's a good point.
And you're like, wait, I'm paying them a good salary, but if they don't understand how to manage it, then that's where they need to do that. And those are things that I want to do more of too, is financial wellness, and go through
Yeah.
all the things that I talked about in a whole program with employers, employees. But
Yeah.
that to me is also a part of leadership, because leading your own money and understanding that you don't have to be bound by your money. Yesterday, when I was talking with that one particular woman, she was going to be making like at least 300,000 or so in San Fran. So I was like, that's awesome. I was really excited for her. But when we dug a little bit more too, she shared that she's going to be supporting her sister who wants to go to college. You know, her parents have 2 other kids that they're going to be supporting at home, and she was going to be taking care of her other 2 sisters. So out of that income, she still has some major financial obligations. And I don't even
Yes.
know if she was in her 30s yet. You know, she might be early 30s, but that's something an employer would not have known. And they probably don't know. They're thinking, we're paying you all this good money.
So
You
I know. I'm having an aha moment here
Yes.
because I feel like as an employer, I do come at that from that angle. Like, hey, I don't want you to work overtime. I want to pay you well. I want to take care of you the way that offer benefits, the way that employers kind of can. But
Yeah.
you're right. I don't know everybody's personal financial situation and what they're dealing with in their home life. And I
Yeah.
think that is kind of what, like, that's the aha. It's like,
Mm-hmm.
our leadership team will sit around and talk about why is everyone so stressed out?
Mm-hmm. There's all these other factors coming at them.
Of course.
Yes.
I feel
And
like, duh. Yeah.
well, yeah, it's good though. It's good that we're having this conversation.
Yeah. Yeah.
And I do this, so I am constantly doing research. So I'm constantly asking people to chat with me, and they're willing to, and it keeps my ears to the ground of what's going on. And those are the ways that we can help. Employers can help their employees through financial wellness programs and that type of thing. And even within that, it's not just about budgeting. It's some of the mindset stuff that I was talking about, money mindset stuff. That's really, really important.
Well, and I mean the mind stuff piece is kind of like where I started in asking, like, how do you go from good to confident and in control?
Yes.
And so when you think about your experience in working with people who, with STEM professionals, what would you say the top 2 money mindset shifts that people need to kind of make before any tool or tactic will really work?
I'm going to probably just have to give examples because I
Great. No, that's perfect way. Yeah,
yeah.
of course.
So I remember speaking with someone and I kept asking her, ultimately, what's the goal? And
So hard.
ultimately, what's the goal is ultimately what's the goal. It's like, what is the final thing? So we beat around the bush. I mean, it took a while. She mentioned, I just want to get an emergency savings. I'm like, okay, now after that, what happens? I want to fully fund my 401k. After that, what happens? Well, I think I would just really be happy because I've got these things done. And I'm like, so what else do you want to do? We
Yes.
rarely it took a while. It took a while to get, I didn't want to say it for her.
I am her. This is
Yeah.
why I'm like, why it's resonating again, because I think a lot of us are in that. It's like, to what end, everyone?
Yes. Yes. Like, what is it? Oh, and I think it's still, even when we ended the conversation, she was like, oh my gosh. Yeah. Was just striving. She's just like, I'm just focused on striving. I'm focused on getting out of this. And so I think going back to give yourself opportunity to imagine what
Yeah.
would it look like. And you will probably have to just shut everything down, right? Shut down all the stuff, all the distractions, because
All the noise.
active life, all this
Yes.
do. So that's a big deal because I wanted her to dream. And she did mention travel. That is one thing people do mention a lot. Another thing is being open to being able to see, like, what would it be like to even take a work break? Like, how would you even fund that? I think that's a challenge, especially, well, for me, it's a challenge because I'm an entrepreneur. So I'm still working for that myself. So I have like little breaks that I take, but I do see as a W-2 employee that is something that people need to think more about. Like, what would that be like to kind of practice and look at it? Like, maybe you have to look at it from a different standpoint. I'm practicing what retirement would look like. So let me just test it out, and if STEM people, we test things out all the time and we iterate. Why not test out and give yourself that opportunity to test out what would it be like to just give myself 3 months off? What would it be like to give myself 6 months off and trust the process? Trust that, okay, things will be okay, because that experience is going to be something that I can bring to the table to the next job. Or I had someone in my program, she was able to speak with her employer about taking 3 months off, and they gave her 3 months and they say, you better come back. We want you back. And so that was something she was able to do. And I think even as an employer, that can give your employees just that freedom to live life.
Well, and this is kind of why I'm like, again, I get like so excited about some of the stuff you're saying, because I think that's one of the things, like, what can employers do? Like,
Yeah.
can you staff in such a way that somebody could be gone for 3 months at a time?
Yes.
And like, again, I think if, and, motivation, particularly in today's times, I feel like there's this undercurrent of let me do for me.
Yeah.
And if you're not that person, like, that's not naturally who I am. I like to figure
Right.
out how could I help other people? So as an
Yes.
employer, I'm sitting here thinking, wait a minute, why can't I help people build sabbaticals? Because part of, we're not saying, hey, we're going to pay you for 3 months. We're saying, how do you get into a financial place where you could take 3 months off? And
Yes.
what would that feel like? Right. So for
Yes.
an employer, as long as you're staffing appropriately, like, maybe it costs you as an employer an extra person. Maybe. I
Mhm.
don't know if it does, but I'm sitting here thinking,
That's
how
sometimes.
do I craft that for people?
Yes.
Because it does go back to this, like, happiness and personal fulfillment. If you got people happy and personally fulfilled, how much better would everybody be at their jobs?
Oh,
And we
yes.
all know
Right.
nobody sits at a desk for 8 hours getting 8 hours of work done. It's something
No,
like 4 hours, right?
I believe it. Yes. I've definitely heard 4 hours. Yeah.
Me too. It's like, oh, well, then why are we making people sit anywhere for 8 hours then?
That industrial age, it can't get
Yes.
that. And yeah, just how our society is. Yeah. We got to release that. I think it's powerful. Like, and I'm constantly learning. Like I said, I'm a lifelong learner. So I'm a teacher. So then I'm learning, I'm testing on myself or mentally or trying to work with others to help them do it. I had one lady, she was in, San Fran area and tech industry, and she got laid off, and she took a whole year off, to detox and to figure it all out. And then she was able to get back in and start doing consulting. So I think she's been about almost 2 years away from, looking for work and things like that. Like, she was able to give herself some options there. And I think that's what this is all about, giving yourself options. But
Yes.
you're thinking and looking along those lines, like, how can I help them take a work break? And that's the one client that I have who took the 3 months. She funded that herself. So, when we talked back in May of 2024, she was like, I want to, be able to snorkel, and it's some serious snorkeling. It's not the kind that I do at the beach. Like,
Yeah. Like, she wants to go destination snorkeling somewhere far away, probably,
right.
right?
Or
Yeah.
you've got to get some type of license and, skill. It's like a skill.
Yeah.
I didn't even know there was such a thing. But she was like, okay, I'm saving 300 something a week right now. I'm going to double this. So she doubled it to 615 a week and was able, or close to double. And she was able to do that a year later, but she spoke with her employer. They had a good conversation, and that was really important. So there's a book too that I'll recommend.
Oh, yeah. What is it?
My colleague, she wrote this book. Her name is Katie North. But she wrote the book, The Art of the
Ooh, I love it.
Yeah, I love that book because it talks more to W-2 employees, but even getting you thinking outside the box, even as a solopreneur like myself, or even as somebody who, has employees like you, like
Mhm.
thinking like, even like, how could I do that? It could be small breaks. It could be something, but a way to give yourself back your time, and understanding that time is one of our
Time and health, right? Time and
time and health.
health.
You can't get it
Yeah.
back, right? So yeah. So those are so important. Yeah.
I mean, this has been such a fun conversation. I feel like I could talk to you about this stuff for like 2 or 3 hours. I mean,
Yeah,
I think what's fun is for any of the employers out there, right, who really do care about burnout and kind of employee engagement. I feel like we're on the path, right? There's like that psychological safety element. Like, could you even talk to your employer about this? And
yeah.
if you were at a good company and you felt felt like you could, then how do you have those conversations? And
Ab-
then and that's why that book might be really
It
transformational
will
for
be very
somebody.
helpful. It
And
talks
then
about
the
all of that.
exactly. And then the other part is like as an employee, right? Like what is your why? Like these are the things that I feel like are resonating from this conversation. And if you're open to it, we'll do another one of these because I think that
Right.
this could be
Yeah.
really interesting for people.
Absolutely. Yeah, this was a really great conversation. And I'm also an author too. So I got to
I know
shout
I was
my
gonna
book
say,
out.
where's your book? Now the other thing too that in the meantime,
In the meantime, owned it
fantastic.
financial narratives.
And I really think I cannot underscore more this idea that people should be reading books like this, like yours and Katie's, because I feel like it does start with what are you trying to do? And I think we are
Absolutely.
conditioned to, go to school, get through
Yeah,
high school, get through college, get a career. And then once you have your career, just go. And you're like,
yeah,
no, 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 that's not it. That's not the only thing.
absolutely. It's not
And
the
I
only
feel
thing.
like if I had learned that earlier in my career, I think it would have been better. I would have been less stressed out. And I know plenty of people who get into that workaholic realm
Yeah,
and all of a sudden they're
absolutely.
sick.
Yeah,
And they believe that they're sick because they didn't give themselves the space, the grace, the ability to take a step back and think of why am I doing this? So start
absolutely.
there, maybe, right?
Starting there. That's so key. I'm in a forum with other financial advisors, and we were all, well, I wasn't discussing, I was lurking probably most like
Yeah,
I
yeah,
was
yeah.
just
I love
sitting
it.
at the conversation,
Yeah.
and someone had mentioned that, how do you see your life? Like how do you as a planner and how you're building your business? And some people were like, okay, I'm a lifestyle practice. Some were like, well, some are building an enterprise. And one person mentioned that they knew an advisor who was building an enterprise who earlier this year, their wife passed away. And soon after they passed away. And it was like, we built this enterprise for what? And that's not the life that I want and that I want for others. So it's really a matter of digging into that why. And I'll definitely leave. There's so many other books like The Gap and the Gain. That's a really great book. Die with Zero.
That sounds like a good one.
Did you read? Have you read?
No,
Yeah,
no, but that's what I'm saying. Like I want
yeah,
either the list of books from you and we can pull the Amazon links or something. But
yeah.
I want to thank you so much for being here. Again, we could talk about this
Absolutely.
forever.
I
We'll
know
come
we
up
can.
with another topic, but thank you so
Yeah.
much, Shahara, for spending some time with me today.
Thank you, Sarah. This has been a pleasure.